In the previous part, we have seen the story about Fiona and the author. Fiona is the main Villianess in this novel, and the author has taken over his body, or she has possessed her soul, and she is trying to save herself from death. Now, she thinks that she will change her future. Then suddenly, she got an invitation from the Hellion region, and she goes to the Hellion region where she met Duke Abel Helen, who is one of the best supporters in the novel, and he is also the godfather of Sagrin. She insists that she will live with the man, she will make good use for him. Then he agrees, and she starts living in Hellion. And after that monster encounter, she killed a monster, and everybody was astonished to see how a child can produce magic power. And little by little, Abel also came close to Fiona, and he tells her that he will adopt her if she has agreed to become his daughter. But she declined, saying that. But after some time, they agreed, and she became his adopted daughter. Then after some time, she goes to her own home where they thought she would have died already. But seeing her alive, they were shocked, and they were saying that she is an imposter. But she tells him that she is the real one and she survived in the Hellion region. And after some time, she started a plot for revenge for her family for treating her like a nuisance. She gave the original documents of dowry and smuggling of drugs to the imperial court, and they raided the house and they destroyed the Fiona house. And Fiona has finally taken her revenge. After that, she came back to Hellion, but on the way, she met a man with a red hair who was very handsome. She thinks that all the men in the novel are very handsome. And after some time of thinking, she knows the identity of the man. The man is the errant Clovis, and he is also the second lead in the novel. After some time, she goes to shopping where she met Errant, and Errant says to her that he got a best offer for her, and he tells her that the offer is that she will come to the Imperial Magician Court, where she will be granted a very particular title and she will live in harmony all her life, whereas she declined his offer saying that she doesn't need that. But suddenly a person came saying that she doesn't need it and she is his daughter, so it doesn't matter whether she can have that title or not because she is always noble in every aspect. The person is none other than Duke Abel, and he tells Errant that he should go, and he should give some privacy to daughter and father. Then Errant Clovis takes his leave, and Abel says to Fiona that he has come here to give her a surprise. And then suddenly a grand carriage enters, and on the top of the grand carriage there was a man sitting, and the man was none other than Sagrin. And he has come just right after slaying a dragon for the girl he loved. And Fiona is astonished to see a dragon, and seeing Sagrin, she thinks that Sagrin is looking more handsome and he has become more mature. And after that they meet up, whereas Sagrin asked her how was she, and they talked to each other for some time after that. Abel introduced Sagrin to the royal family. The king accepted him as the second prince, and the royal prince got very angry thinking that he was the only prince until now. But suddenly a second prince has come and his position is in a threatening situation. But after thinking sometimes he thought he shouldn't worry about that and notice Fiona, whereas he thinks that she is very beautiful and her hair is smooth as silk. But when he was staring at Fiona, suddenly Sagrin came and asked the crown prince what he's doing, and he tells her that. He tells her that she got the attention of his and he is thinking that he will just play with her for some time and then he will throw her just by listening to this word. Sagrin got angry and he just grabbed the neck of the crown prince and he throws him at the wall and tells him that if he ever touch a hand or lay in on Fiona, then it will be his last day of life because Sagrin will kill him. He really loved Fiona very much, and Crown Prince Singh think that now Sagrin has threatened him just because of some random girl. But he doesn't know that random girl is loved by everyone and Duke Abel is very protective about her. Then they enter a ball where Sagrin meet the emperors and they start talking, and after that Sagrin take Fiona to outside, whereas he says to her that how about they go on a market night date, which Fiona replied yes, they will go, and after that they go on a date on the market where they enjoy their time very peacefully. But when they return to palace, Sagrin hold the hand of Fiona and says to her that he loves her very much, and he is confessing his love for her now, whereas Fiona start blushing thinking what he's saying right now, and how he is loving me. How can this be possible? But then kiss on the forehead of Fiona and tell her that she doesn't need to worry about that. He will wait for her answer, and he tell her that he will now take his leave and she shouldn't worry about that much and take her some time to think about his proposal. After a few days, when they were sitting on a table, Duke Abel asked that if Sagrin confess his love to Fiona, and then Fiona blushes, saying that what are you telling? After that the scene changes and Sagrin come to ask the answer about his proposal to Fiona, whereas Fiona replied that yes to his confession and she also loves him, and they start dating each other. On the other side, the crown prince was angered because his position and nobility were in danger, and he think that the woman Fiona is nothing but adoptive child. But still Sagrin tries to threaten him and he push him onto the wall. He starts thinking to plot a revenge against them, and he thinks that if he ever done something to the Fiona, then Duke will not listen because Duke doesn't care much about her, and he think that he will take revenge on her and then he will make Sagren suffer. Then he shouts to his maid saying that he should consult his aide right now, and the maid got terrified. A few days later, at the Duke Helen mansion, we see Fiona and Sagren walking together, whereas Fiona is telling him that she will not travel with Duke anymore, because whenever she goes with him, the Duke always gets into some kind of fight. And then, while Fiona was explaining this, she imagined the scene. We see that Duke is saying that he always thought that this state was a pig state, and he doesn't even remember that people live here. He is tell this in a sarcastic way. Fiona also thinks that he is very sarcastic, and she tells Sagren about that. Whereas, he replies saying that Duke Abel acted like this because if he didn't act like this, then he couldn't have protected Hallian region along the way it is now. And Fiona also agrees with him. But Fiona sees his faces and tell him that he still acknowledges what should be acknowledged and smile at him in a lovely way. Since Sagren acknowledged Duke Abel very much, when she was touching his hair, he just hold her hand, take it to his mouth and kiss her hand. And Fiona blushes. Sagren know how to flatter the girl's heart. And then Sagren says to her that she shouldn't be surprised now since they have decided to date. And he also tell her that he love everything about her. Then Fiona blushes and thinks that he is very cute. Then suddenly a man came, saying, "Your Highness," and the person was from the elder family, and he was his son who had been given the role protect the second prince, means Sagren guard. Whereas Sagren ignore him, reply that this man is annoyingly good at finding him. Whereas Fiona asked him, "Who is this man?" Whereas Sagren introduced him, he is Cayenne Perez, and he is the person that was planted in his palace by the Marquis Perez. Cayenne said that he was looking for him and he shouldn't avoid him since he had been assigned to be his guard. Then he noticed Fiona and apologized. She says to him it's okay, and then they both introduced and greet each other. Then we see Sagren says that he doesn't need a bodyguard and he should go to his room. Whereas Sagren says to Fiona that they should leave, and Fiona agrees with him, and they start walking. Fiona looked back at Cayenne Perez, thinking that she can't help but think that they could get along if he were not from the Perez family. They were leaving, and then she also thought that she couldn't blame their family since they decided not to become close with anyone. Like in the whole story of Romeo and Juliet, where both of them decided to stay apart from each other for their love. Whereas seeing him like this, Sagren tell Fiona that she shouldn't be thinking about anything weird. Then they enter the palace, where maid greet Fiona and says that the Duke is looking for her, and she gets shocked, wondering why the Duke has been waiting for her. Then she goes to Duke, where we see Duke standing, and she asks him what happened, to which Duke replies that he is going back to Hellion, and Fiona asked him, "Did something happen there?" Whereas Duke replied to that Jaron is complaining about that since he is alone and carrying all the paperwork. Whereas Fiona starts thinking that when Abel and she were there, then they were the ones who handle all the paperwork, and now he has taken care of the document. So it must be very problematic for him since he is alone at this time. Abel says to Fiona that he's always been away from the territory for a long, but he thinks that he should head back now. While talking to her like that, he also thinks that when he returns the Hellion, then the people will attack Fiona and target them directly since he will not be around with them. And he also thinks that he refused to see that the crown prince bastard to become the emperor in his lifetime. He also thinks that after the monster attack, the situation has worsened because of the appearance of darkness, and the idiot crown prince doesn't even have a countermeasure, so since they are always on the front lines, Hellion would take most of the damage. The crown prince will not care about it. Abel think that he doesn't plan to fall his territory on the crown prince's hand or do anything to harm his territory, and he will protect his territory. And then suddenly he asked Fiona about Sagren. She says she doesn't know. I will say that he's worried about two of them. And then he directly asked her about her relationship with Sagren, whereas she gets shocked and says, What are you worried about?" That he replies that of course he should be worried since he is a father of her, and it's natural that a father is worried about his daughter. And then he thinks they both are adults, so it doesn't matter how far they should go, but still, he cared for them very much. What a fatherly love he has. Then Abel says to Fiona that she doesn't have to do anything weird since he will not be here to cover her. And she said that she would definitely be covering that soil with him too. Then the scene changes, and we see that Fiona is sitting on the carriage, seeing the scenery and thinking that it's a remote area. But still, it's very pretty. Then we see a guard or a knight saying that since the master has returned to Hellion territory, he has ordered them. If a lady gets even a scratch, then they would have to face the consequences of Duke Abel. On the other hand, the second knight also says that he told her that she wasn't going to be as stubborn as when she was in Hellion. whereas Fiona told him that she never did that, and they started talking to each other, whereas the guard said that every man has fallen for her beauty since she always walked with a wildman. To be in front of them, it feels like she is controlling all of them. And she also, the knight says that he is not a critic, criticizing Fiona, and if anything happened, then some guys fell because of it. The knight says that even among his friends, there was this guy, but suddenly he sensed something, stopped the carriage, and said to Fiona that someone was approaching. Fiona was shocked, and he told her that she doesn't have to leave the carriage no matter what because there are suspicious people outside. He shouted that it was an attack, and everybody got in a position to fight. Then the man shouts that there is a woman in the carriage, and he tells everyone to capture the lady, and then they proceed further to capture her, whereas the knight shouts that they are surrounded. Fiona, leave the carriage, saying that she will handle this, and the knight says to her that she shouldn't leave the carriage, they will handle it normally, whereas Fiona doesn't listen to them. And she walks past them, saying that she will handle them like she always handles everybody. She flashes his finger. Suddenly, lightning bursts from the ground, and everybody is shocked to see why the light is coming from the ground. Then the blast happened, and Fiona stood there, and both of the knights were standing there, saying that no matter how they saw the lady, her magic was something else. Then Fiona tells them, saying their name, that they should watch her back since she's going to take the lead. Then she takes the lead and kills everybody, and then she says that everybody has already fainted, but there is only one left who is not fainting right now. She came close to him, put her heels on his knees, and pressured him, and he shouted agonizingly, and she asks him, she is not going to ask him very nicely, so this is his last chance. So she tells him spill all the beans and he should tell her everything he knows. Then Thief says that they don't know that she is noble, and they just received a request saying that they have to kidnap a young lady from a rich family. And Fiona asks him who hired them, to which he replies that he doesn't know them. Then Fiona threatened him, saying that no matter how many fingers he has, he will lose every single finger every time he tells lies to her. On the back, the knight thinks that the young lady is similar to the master. It means Fiona is similar to Duke Abel in every aspect. Then Fiona asks to his knight find out everything about this guild and where the people came from, and clean them up to a reasonable extent. She also says to him that he doesn't need to show kindness to them and that he should kill them mercilessly. He understood the assignment, thinking that if his heart becomes soft, then they will suffer and die, so they can't lose. Then Fiona thinks that now she will go to make an official complaint. Then she goes to a house where she enters, and a person shouts, "Who are you?" Whereas she sits on a chair and introduces him to Fiona Hellion, and she has come for him. Just by seeing Fiona, he thinks that they are the Hellion people, and they are one of the great houses, as well as that the family mercenaries are particular debt to them. So he asks Fiona to speak freely with him, and she obliges him. Fiona told him that, to be honest, she has experienced a music event thanks to the mercenary guild, but she has come here because she has to file a complaint. She also told him that she knew what guilds were always neutral, but she doesn't intend to dig up every last detail, and she just wants one thing from him. Then she stared at him with red, gloomy eyes and asks him what the name of his client is. The man gets shocked and shivers in fear, and he tells him that their principle is that they have to keep it, employer identity secrets, so he can't tell her. Just by listening to this, Fiona think, even if they were the mercenary guild, they wouldn't make a wise decision to make enemies of a duchess or Hellion mansion. But they are taking that risk. This means the client has more power than them. The seed of evil has already grown. Then Fiona put a condition on it, saying that if this is like this, then revealing her name would put him in a tough position. Then that's why she will let go of this time. She tells him that, but she asks him to give him a little hint since she is also not from a weak family and she is also a noble. But the man refused to tell her, and he told her well. But then suddenly Fiona glanced at her knight, and just by seeing her eyes, the knight came front and hold the head of the man and put it down on the table, and the sound stirred, whereas Fiona asked to answer him, and he said, "Of course, miss." And then she told him that she will report this to the Duke, and he doesn't need to worry about it. Then they leave, but while going back, just thinking that the client has more power than the Hellion family is more than enough information, and she thinks that she will investigate this properly since she is the one responsible for everyone in the Hellion family, and she thinks that she has to act calmly about this until the very end. Then the scene changes. We see a palace where Sagrin is sleeping, and then suddenly a man comes with a robe covering his face, and he thinks that he was nervous that Sagrin had defeated the dragon. But after seeing him like this, his concerns were unnecessary since he was so defenseless right now. And he took his dagger out and tried to kill Sagrin. And then suddenly Sagrin wakes up and puts his dagger away. He tells him, do these people really think that he is very weak? And he also told him, if they wanted to kill him, they should have sent Fiona because she is the only one who can kill him, and not a sloppy guy like him. And then he killed him. And then we see Cayenne Perez walk in, saying, Your Highness, tell him that he is very noisy, and he tell him to close the door and come in. And then he came in, and he suddenly threw a dagger at him but on his side, and he got scared. And Sigrid asked him, Is this the doing of your family or someone else? Whereas the Cayenne replied that he was not sure about it. Then he came close to Cayenne. Cayenne thinks that this is the end of his life, but he just grabbed the dagger, and Cayenne thinks that he is too terrified to live in this place because of this damned prince because he looked very innocent. But he is not. Sagrin thinks that he'd been watching him constantly, and unlike Viscount Perez, he doesn't act suspicious, so he will leave him like that. Then Cayenne asked Sagrin that it's if the reply is incorrect, then what would he have done? Whereas he tell him that he would have already had killed him, and he will tell everybody that his guard died vulnerably while fighting an assassin and protecting him. On the back, Cayenne thinks that he doesn't even care about him. Then Sagrin thinks that he has to differentiate between those he can trust and those he cannot. This is the only way he can protect his position in the palace, and after all, this is the only way that he can be with Fiona by his side. Then the scene changes, and we see a grand palace where everybody is dancing. And on the other hand, Fiona thinks that she can't focus on the ball at all, because she is in thought of who has hired a mercenary to kill her. And after some thought, she thinking that she should not get too stressed about his, since this is the world inside of a book, and a world inside of a book is like when things follow the original novel. Even if they are bad, they will be less tiring than even before. And she knew this was because she had already read it, and she knew it would have a happy ending regardless. But still, she also thinks that she ignored her reality back then, and that's why she could endure the battlefield's horrible monster attack. She was busy in her thoughts, thinking this world had now become completely different from the original. She thinks that Sagrin was also in a tough position because the changes of the event, and then suddenly Sagrin comes, saying that it's cold and what she is thinking. And standing here like that, she replies that she's thinking about the attacker. Sagrin tells her that if she has confronted Guild, but she didn't even know what happened. She also asked him if something had happened to him, but he replied that nothing happened, and she thought that he was just silent for a moment, while she was asking, does she still not know who's behind that attack? Sagrin touches his hair and says that he will find the attacker and kill him. Then he came close, but Fiona put him away, saying to stop touching, and she told him that there were a lot of people inside and what he would do if somebody came out. But Sagrin is not listening to her, and he kisses her hand. He holds her hand and kisses her hand. Fiona tells him that she doesn't plan to spoon-feed him, but he hugs her, and she thinks that he has become more audacious. Sagrin hugs her and tells him that he likes her hair because it's very thin and beautiful, and it's like a spider web. And just by saying spider web, he tells her that this spider web is the only thing that has pulled him from the hell, and Fiona tells him that she doesn't know that he thought that. And she tells him that if he keeps touching it, it will be hard to tie up. She tells him to stop, but a Sagrin suddenly comes close to her neck and kisses her. Fiona starts to be blushes and astounded, but she doesn't say anything. Then she says, wait, and then Sagrin lose the grip and say sorry to her, saying that if she doesn't like it, then he will not do this. But Fiona tells him that it's not like that. Then Sagrin asked them what the reason she is stopping him. Then Fiona started thinking about that. She is constantly concerned about how intimate she should get with him and how, and is it okay to go all the way with Sagrin. She is thinking that their relationship will be better since there will be no issues. But still, she doesn't know if Sagrin might go to Eunice someday. And if Sagrin spent the night with other women, it would be weird for her. Can't she says that she doesn't want him to go anywhere. Here our video end. Tell us what you think about it. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to our channel. I hope you like this video.